I got the walk, there's a longboard walk. I know the talk, the longboard talk.
G'day, wherever you're joining us from around the world, around this great nation of ours. It's episode 23 of Oz Longboarding. Over on the left-hand side of the country, it's me, Weeksy. I don't even know how the surf's been this week. I've been buried away fixing trucks again. I plan to go surfing tomorrow. It will happen one of these days, if I can remember how to stand up. There has been some waves. There's been wonky winds on the west coast, especially in the metropolitan area. And exciting news, the Yalmal's on again this year, so entries have just come out. Mickey Marlin messaged me. They might even get me down to be the commentator again. So that's the exciting news. We've got exciting news in just about every state. And let's start with our man down in the cold state. And he's even got his scarf on today for us. So Nathan Riverland down there in Victoria, how's things, buddy? And congratulations on the great news that you've got with your work.
Yeah, thanks, Weeksy. Yeah, good to be here. Go Tigers. Grand final this weekend for the AFL. So repping the colours tonight. Yeah, the waves have been pretty good here this week. It's been small, but a lot of little windows to go out and a lot of low tides. So a lot of the points have been really nice. And then, yeah, got some really good news on Sunday. Dan Andrews announced that the radius for Melbourne had been extended to 25K. So all the Melburnians who live in that region can come and surf the pool. So they said, the pool sort of said if they go beyond 5Ks with the announcements that we'd open. So, yeah, really exciting. So I'll go back to work first day back tomorrow. So I'm super excited. It's going to be great to get in the pool.
Unreal, and everyone who lives in the Tullamarine industrial area can go. That's huge.
Huge.
No, that's great news, mate, and not just for yourself and the other workers there, but also for the mental health of Victorian surfers. So that's excellent news, and we're looking forward to our first Oz Longboarding Classic at the Tullamarine Wave Pool with bated breath. A little bit further around the coast, Matty Chinosky is either running fashionably late or he doesn't want to talk to a world champ. But further up the coast, I don't know, we might have even lost Jack Entwistle. His business is doing far too well for him to drag himself away on a Thursday night anymore. So that leaves us on the Gold Coast with the man who made it all possible in the first place, Mr. Sean McEwen. How are you, big guy?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We've had another interesting week up here. Surf's been, it's been waves, been good waves, nothing big, nothing special. But for this time of year, we are having good waves and makes everybody happy.
You always finish sentences like that, like you're about to say something else, and it catches me every time.
Yeah. I just wait until you pour up your drink and then I stop. Yeah.
Keep me on toes.
Got this week, we will be running at Kira a How to Improve Your Surfing workshop early December. There would be a series of workshops over the day and there'll be more announcements. So look on the Kira Longboard Classic and we'll put it on Oz Longboarding and that details. And we'll have people like Gleavy and Ballon and that are going to come along and show you how to surf like a pro and that. We've even got judges, WSL judges telling you what they're looking for and even how to, what to look for in your own equipment before you leave home and go to the beach. So
unreal. I haven't heard about anyone doing something like that for the development of the sport for a long time. So that's a good step in the right direction.
Well, we're thinking outside the box and, the Gold Coast Council's been really good and helped us with different things.
Is Rabbit going to win the election?
Big ask, I think. I tell you what, I had to laugh. I go to the gym 3 times a week, believe it or not. And guess who walked in during the week was Andy Mack. He had that heart attack and they've obviously told him he's got to go and get into shape. So he turned up last Friday and I haven't seen him since.
And actually, I got a message from Andy Mack the other day because the day after when he was supposed to be on the show, he obviously got crook and so he couldn't come on the show. But he's like, this is 2 days ago. Thanks, Jason. Sorry, I missed the message. Did pass on to Sean to say hi and thanks for thinking of me. Hope it's all well. It's now 13 weeks since the heart attack and I'm doing fine. Take care. Hope you're getting pumping waves, of course, being in the West. Cheers, Andrew. So, Andy, Matt, great to have you back on deck, mate, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, he's a big man.
Have you got the figures, the dates and stuff for Agnes close to hand? Because Michael Cottier has confirmed through the grapevine today that Agnes Water Classic entries are out. They're still not sure about whether there's going to be a pro logger division, but entries have been released for the other divisions. So
the pro logger hasn't yet opened, but what do we got from him? The confirmed dates are from Tuesday the 16th to Sunday the 21st of March. And you can get your entries on the seawaterinc.com.au. So if they just look, you just Google seawater with a AR and should come up. And they tell me the entries came out just a day or so ago.
We'll be sharing that link, and of course, now that I know the dates, I'll be making a little promotional video, which will include some of the footage from the good days, Kira, from last year's event. And that brings us for this year's event. Kira was there for the pro logger and disappeared just in time for the point to fire up the day after. So welcome to the show again, Kira Molnar, up on the Sunshine Coast. How's things for you this week, mate?
Yeah, it's been a really busy week. We've had a little bit of swell around. It's just dropped off now into the weekend, and you can tell summer's coming because there's a few northerly winds lingering about throughout the day and then coming into the afternoons. So yeah, hopefully we get some swells soon, but we've had a good winter, so that was good.
Well, if you're wondering if there is waves, that's good to hear. Sorry, Kira, by the way, but if you're wondering if there's going to be waves in Noosa and what the conditions are like, especially on the sheltered beaches, this man will tell you from Tom Offin and Real Estate. Welcome to Oz Longboarding for episode 23, 2006 World Longboarding Champion of the Universe, JC, Josh Constable. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Weeksy. Excited to be here. I've been watching a lot of the episodes you guys have been doing, and it's an honour to be here tonight.
I know we're going to have a few of your fans tuning in from around the world. I know Jessica Rose in Israel will be one of them. She loves herself a Josh Constable. But how are you finding that these days? Obviously, well, actually, we'll get onto that a little bit later on. But obviously, you're up there in Noosa land along with Kira. So maybe Kira, tell our viewing audience what Noosa thinks, I should say, of this man Josh Constable, because he seems like he might be a little bit of a celebrity out there.
I think he is a celebrity. He's watching the Tom Offin reports to get my daily what's happening in the ocean is really good. But actually, Josh works at St Andrews with me as well and coaches a few squads, and he's always been a really big part of the Noosa Malibu club. So it's epic to see him always there on the weekends at the club comps and helping out the younger crew and that younger generation of longboarding as well. And it's been cool to watch him compete over in New York and as well in Noosa on the WSL tour too. So, yeah.
He's come good, really, hasn't he? I mean, when I first met Josh was when the longboarding tour was about vertical re-entries and nose hellies, if your name's Pioli. And so obviously those power surfing days have waxed and waned, and Josh disappeared off the competitive circuit for a little while. But now with this different interpretation of the old criteria, coming back with a vengeance in the logging world. Josh, have you had to make major changes to your surfing to slot into the new criteria, keep the judges happy, or has it just been a progression because you're getting old?
Yeah, no, I guess it's a bit of both. It's definitely growing up here in Noosa, we've always ridden those style of boards and that approach. But obviously, wanting to win contests, it's the reason you go in them is to come first or try to. You had to do what the judges wanted. So back then, that's what longboarding and competitive surfing was all about, and which I thoroughly enjoy, and I still do like that high performance aspect of longboarding. But times changed, and the judges want to see different things, and events are held in different waves and different styles. So for me, it's been a great movement that they've taken. Definitely, it's where there's obviously some growth in the sport, and it's getting a bit more mainstream media and more attention from WSL. So the new criteria is awesome, and I like what they're doing with it. But the question, I love that style of surfing, and I've always done that. I've always had logs and big boards in my quiver. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see where it's going.
Okay, Josh, I was wondering, how did it all sort of start with you? Do your parents, and have you always lived in Noosa?
Yeah, so I'm born and bred here in Noosa. My dad's a surfer. So growing up, my sister and I would drag to the beach with my parents. So my mum didn't surf, but yeah, it's just a natural progression. Dad was a shortboarder, and we grew up just riding shortboards. On a holiday to Byron Bay, sort of early teens. I think it was about 12, 13, something like that. It was flat, no waves. So Dad's like, oh, let's go buy a longboard and so we can surf while we're on the trip. And we bought this huge longboard. We thought it was huge. It was 7 foot at the time, but when you ride shortboards, five footers and 6 footers, we just thought we were getting this tankish longboard. And I guess that was the start for me. I fell in love with it, and we brought it home, and I would drag it to the beach. We lived on the beach at Pridgeon, and Dad was always tripping like, what are you doing riding that thing? We've got waves, but I just kept grabbing this longboard, and it was just a natural progression from there. We ended up joining the Noosa Malibu Club, and the rest is history. But I still ride a shortboard all the time. My quiver is from 5.5 through to 12-foot gliders, and depending on the conditions is what board I ride now.
Sure. Nice one.
Sick. What was I going to ask?
I'll keep going. I can talk to you all day long, Josh. So I don't know if everyone in the Constable family has to have a name starting with J, but I know your two young blokes, Jet and Jive, they're turning into quite the competent surfers themselves. Seeing them, they're maturing quite nicely up there. But good to they speak like little gentlemen. I think I had Jive on the webcast commentary at the Noosa Festival of Surfing, and he's a very well-spoken young man. Real little characters, the pair of them. But how much of an advantage will they have over their old man, having started longboarding right from the get-go?
Yeah, totally. They're doing unreal, and they're in love with it. They love the surfing. But, for me, I grew up, it was kind of the only thing I wanted to do. It was either the skate park or surfing. But obviously kids these days have so many more options and different journeys. They're playing basketball and they're into all different types of things. So they're not super 100% passionate about surfing as much, but they enjoy it, and they are surfing really well. And we live in Noosa, so they've got a great training ground that if they do want to progress their surfing, they're in the right spot to do that.
And do they both love longboarding too, or have you had them on the shortboards a little bit?
Yeah, look, Jet's a longboarder through and through. He's a real cruiser. His personality's that as well. So the longboarding really fits his style and his approach just in life. And Jive's a little bit more high paced, and he just loves everything. He's Jamie O'Brien's his idol, and so he's riding softboards. He's riding finless. He's loving his shortboard. He's skating a lot at the moment and trying to bring that sort of air sort of trick stuff from the skateboard into his surfing. So look, he loves riding everything. They're both very good on the longboard if they put a bit of time and effort into it. Obviously there is the option to have a bit of a career there, but whatever they choose to do, but they love it. It's pretty cool to see. It's great for Anna and
you've also dabbled in this. I hear you've got an Australian SUP world title or SUP title that I didn't know about.
Yeah, no, that was I was actually in Japan. I'm going back a fair while now, but I was standing there on the beach and I was like, what is this guy doing out there? I'd never seen it before. This guy on the waves were tiny, and he was on this huge board and paddling in, and I'd never seen it. I was spun out, and I'm like, I've got to try that. We've always had tandem boards from Anna's past. We've always had these big boards in the garage, and so I came home, and that's how I actually met Woogie. You'd know Woogie. He's a Kiwi former outrigger world champion and a very good paddler. He was making outrigging paddles, and we talked, and he'd seen the SUP thing in Hawaii happen, and we actually bodged up a couple of paddles and took these big boards out. And to be honest, I think we were probably the first two guys in Australia ever to do it, because we had these big boards. And then soon after that, Krista Boytz was back in town in Noosa, and I rang in. I'm like, tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, meet me at First Point. And so I got him on the program, and he ran with it. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It was awesome to be there in that early stages of it. And being a longboarder and riding big boards and cruising on these boards was super enjoyable. I kind of drifted away from it as they started getting the boards smaller and smaller and more performance-based. Supping, I liked the glide of the big boards, so kind of bowed out. But yeah, did that first Aussie titles and had a win, and I guess retired on top with one and done.
So how many Aussie titles do you have overall now, Josh?
To be honest,
Come on,
sure.
don't start.
I think it's six. I think it's six longboard ones and the sup one. I think.
Do I have one?
I think. So 2006.
Should have had one more, but Weeksy's man JR took me down in pumping, yelling up. That one stung. What year was that?
06, was it? 2006?
Nah, I won 06 over there. I think it was the one before that.
2004 it must have been.
Yeah.
So where was the one that you won? Because there was Yells.
My first one was in South Oz.
Yeah, Middleton, yeah?
Yeah, it was at 02 or 03. One of those years. And then I backed it up the following year at Bells. Remember we had that pumping day at Bells Beach. That was pretty memorable. I got a perfect 10 in the final. That final, I think it was myself, Jackson Close, GT, and Deanie.
Deanie had already won the 35s or something, hadn't he?
I think so. I think
he made
so.
One of the Opens as well.
So that was pretty cool. I guess we were the young guys surfing against, a guy that we all looked up to and idolised, and got to surf a final with him and obviously take him down and get a 10 in the final. That was a very special win. And to go back to back, because I'd had so many runner-ups, and I had that one where I lost to JR, and that one stung.
You wanted that one in WA, man. I remember it was like a spring in your step. There was something. Remember the day at the Thursday we went to Injured Up Car Park and
P break.
Yeah, we had that surf at P break.
Yeah,
and
that was amazing.
It was funny because I'd only just started longboarding. In fact, I'm not even sure if I owned one. I think I had to borrow a Taiwanese pop out or something. But I remember paddling out at P break and I'm watching you and Jackson, and there was only maybe one or two other East Coasters, and then all the West Australian crew, the Corbett boys, JR, Jared Foster, and even Ryan Goddard was getting barrels, and he's a pussy in WA standards. But I remember, as I was paddling out, you got an absolute smoker of a barrel, and I was like, oh, what? You can get barreled on a Mal? Because there was this whole thing about you can't get barreled on a longboard, and I was still totally shortboard mentality. But that one surf, watching you and Jackson, and because I used to give Jackson a hard time for being, tippy-tappy surfer, and that was the first time he'd put on a bit of meat on his bones, and that was a really inspirational surf for me. So you're probably partly responsible for me becoming a longboarder, Jason. So, when people
sorry, WA longboard community for that.
You probably apologise to the whole Australian longboard community. But
yeah, I remember that day. That day was crazy because obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but P break's not overly that consistent. Engine Up Car Park is an amazing wave, but that kind of turned on that day, and that was ridiculous. I remember at the time I was riding for South Coast Surfboards down there in Torquay, and can't remember who took the photo, but we actually ran a 4-page ad of the sequence of one of the barrels that I got. It was such a nuts tube that the sequence was so long, and they ran a 4-page ad of the tube ride. And that day was super special. You just, you have these contests all around Australia or the world, and you have these couple of sessions or waves that you remember. And definitely that session at P break was, that was, it was bloody good. I'll never forget that session. And it only kind of turned on that day for those few hours, and then went back the next day and it wasn't happening. And, but I think it was that day they cancel the contest because yells they were freaking dropping out of the sky. It was so big. I paddled out that morning and with Jared, and Jared's paddling into closeouts and face racing and jumping over the falls and coming up laughing. And I was sitting out in the shoulder, crapping myself, going, "How am I going to get in?" But yeah, he's a psycho. But yeah, I love that. That's what I loved about the sport. And back then, we used to, the Australian titles would travel from state to state, and yeah, I miss those days of traveling and hanging with everyone. It was really good times.
So that was actually I was hoping to get some sense of how excited you are about surfing some solid waves, and I think you've just done a great job of fulfilling that for me. So then that leads me into my next question, which is how do you get your fix up there at Noosa? So you're obviously someone who likes a bit of power in the waves. When the swells turn on, we always expect to see you out there on the bombs, but it's not a real regular thing to get that heart pulse racing swells, certainly not the national park area there. So do you have to go far to get your big wave fix, or does that just come from travelling for comps, or do you just...
Yeah, look, it's funny. I guess I'm a bigger guy, so I like a bit of power and juice in the waves, but yeah, we don't really get that often around here. But obviously in our winter time, Kira knows, like we get great waves and our open beaches really turn on, and we've had a phenomenal winter this year, and we've had, waves from 4 to 6, 8, 10 feet, so not crazy WA size, but we've had a great run this year, and got our fix for sure. And but yeah, I just love coming to WA and getting those. You knew you were going to come in and get windy and big and tough and trying conditions, and always seemed to excel in that, and really enjoyed myself. So
it was good. To beat Redmond in overhead waves in WA, you have to be doing pretty bloody good. But I don't know. I thought you were on a roll there because you had that spring in your step, and you had that belief in your eye, like, yeah, this is me, this is my waves. And got to be totally honest, not many of the Eastern Staters had that look in their eyes, did they?
No, I loved it. Yeah, no, that was a good one. But anyway, I came back in, I think it was 06, and that was the year I won my world title. And then Jet was really young, few months old, and yeah, we were over there and won that national title, and it was pretty cool. I don't know if you remember, but Nat Young was there handing out all the trophies and the awards, and I've got a pretty special photo in the house with getting my trophy from Nat, winning that Aussie title, and had Jet in my arms, and yeah, like I said, he was a few months old, so it's pretty cool.
Unreal. That'll be right up there with my memory of being the first surfer in the new Noosa National Park surf zone. Sorry, Nath.
What was your name in the paper again?
Was it Winks or something? Woods. No, it was Jason Woods.
Jason Woods. Woodsy.
Sorry to cut you off, Nath. You had something more.
All good, Josh. I was just saying. Brad Bowen commented on the Facebook asking whose board you borrowed when you were young, and said something about you never snapping a board.
Yeah, so that's Kira knows Brad Bowen. It was my school teacher when I was at school down in Matthew Flinders in Buderim there, and yeah, we borrowed his board at one of the contests, and the thing went insane and ended up winning on it. And yeah, I used to borrow his board, and now it's gone full circle that I'm teaching his daughter how to surf and running the longboard surf class at the school, and Kira's there teaching as well. But yeah, it's pretty funny to see that and do that.
That's awesome. How was the sort of progression when you were young from into the Malibu club? Was it sort of just a natural progression to start sort of surfing in state titles, then Aussies, and then to the WSL?
Yeah, it was. I grew up obviously riding shortboards, doing board riders events, and I was in the Coolum board riders. My dad was part of the committee and did that. Then we joined the Noosa Malibu club. So I was every weekend, I was juggling events, whether it was short and long. Did the Pro Junior Shortboard Series, started doing the longboard events from probably 13 or 14 years old. So it was really busy, but didn't know any different. Just as a kid, you're just stoked to surf contests and go away each week. But yeah, it was just a natural progression. look, the turning point for me was probably when I was 19. I got a longboard sponsor that paid me a wage to ride for them and go surfing and kind of put the shortboard thing on the back burner. Look, I was never going to make it as a shortboarder. I was confident, or competent, but I was never going to mix it with the likes of Parko and Mick Fanning and all those guys that was in my age division, and grew up with those guys, and they're phenomenal surfers. So to have that opportunity to get paid to surf, which is a dream of mine as a kid, to be world champion and be a pro surfer, it was then at sort of that later teens that I really put my focus to longboarding and focused on a career in that. But yeah, up until then I was just juggling both. I think I was 16, my first world titles. I went to the Oxbow, which was in Makaha in Hawaii. That was a great experience and a real eye opener to as a young kid. I'd had great success already as a junior, and qualified that first year I was still a junior, but qualified second in the Australian Pro Circuit and got to go to Hawaii. But I got there and realised, man, there's some really good guys out there around the world. That was an eye opener, and I had to work on my surfing, I guess, when I came home from then, and realised that there was a lot of room to improve, but it was something that I wanted to do.
Absolutely. Oh, very good. Who was your major competitor that you'd love versing when you were that age? Like who on that? Who was the guy?
Yeah, I guess in those early junior days, man, like Queensland and especially the Sunshine Coast and the Noosa area, we all pushed each other. It was such a competitive, we're all best mates and surfed together, but it was very competitive. It was myself, Grant Thomas, the Wilson brothers, Sir Bart and Seb Wilson, Julian Wilson's older brothers. They were phenomenal surfers. Dwayne Pianga, who's still ripping and holding it down on all the points. Brett White, son of Peter White, Classic Malibu. He was phenomenal. There's obviously more. There's Jackson Close and Dane Pioli that were kind of Gold Coast guys. They were a little bit younger, but it was really competitive. So all those guys would push each other. We'd push each other, and really got my career going, But I guess later on, once it became a job and it was my main focus, I guess it was probably Harley, who we had these amazing battles. There was a stretch of probably 5 years that if I didn't win the contest, he won the contest, vice versa. We surfed so differently, totally different approaches on the wave, but his surfing was so good and at the highest level that I had to be on my game, and he definitely pushed me to get to where I got to.
Well, one of the things that stands out for me, I still remember, was that year we ran the Suzuki Pro, and we had 5 comps around Oz, and you and Harley went for it, hammer and tong, at every comp, and it came down to the final comp there at Byron. You guys both made the final. Whoever won was going to walk away with a brand new car. It did. It went right down to the wire. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and Sean, that was our whole career. That year was so special. I remember we started off with was the first event over west?
No, we started at Coffs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Then we did 2 in WA, Vic, and then we came back to Byron.
Yeah. So and I got the win at, was it what was the beaching? Where Big Dell's from?
Secret Beach.
Yeah.
Mate. And that was good.
That was pumping.
Like a beach break, and yet it had so much power.
Yeah, that was sick. But yeah, no, that was our whole career, that we pushed each other, and I feel like he definitely brought the best out in my surfing, and I probably did the same for him. But we had a great rivalry, but also a lot of respect and a friendship there as well. But it was really good times, and I guess that also I spent so much time, probably from the age of 19 to 30 in the US, and Taylor Jensen was on that over there, and we both had a very similar approach and a very similar style to surfing, and he was the other guy that really pushed my surfing and got the best out of me. And we had some amazing battles and still have been over the last few years. So it's been great.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, tell us a bit about your move into shaping and some of your fin collabs with Glide and stuff, because I know Glide is very popular. Obviously, it's down here in Torquay, and I ride your signature fin. I think it's
Yeah, epic.
yeah. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, I guess the Glide thing is a very special one. I met Johnny. It was my first. I was actually down in Torquay for a Pro Junior at Bell's, and that's when I met Johnny. So I was 19 or 18 at the time, and I met Johnny. So we're talking almost 22 years ago, and I got him to make me a set of longboard fins, and ever since then the relationship has been more than a sponsor or more than the guy that makes my fins. He's a really good friend of mine, a bit of a mentor, definitely a sounding board my whole career on my surfing and my approach and fins and boards and whatever. And he traveled with me last year a little bit and came over to the Relic event in California and hung out for a couple of weeks over there with me, which was really cool. But yeah, we've got something special, and we've just worked on fins, and it's a big part of your surfboard and the performance. So to have him around has been amazing. And then I guess the getting into shaping, it was just a real natural progression for me. I was always super curious of what was under my feet my whole career. I think that's why I had such a great career and such great results, because I was always had the best boards under my feet. I knew rolling up at events, the board was amazing in whatever condition going to, and I felt I had an edge over all my competitors because my boards were so much better than everyone's, and worked really hard with all my shapes over the years, and got to work alongside so many great shapers. Greg Brown, later in my career, I worked with Brownie. He was great, and I learned a lot from him. I was very lucky to spend a couple of years with Donald Takayama and time in the US with him. Dave, another Victorian from Ocean Grove, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he was a huge part of my life, a role model. Shaped my boards. He made me my first longboard when I was with South Coast, when I was 19 years old, and made my boards all the way up to the end of my career. So, and there's obviously a lot of others. Early on, I rode for Mick Tavish and spent a lot of time with Bob in the Bay when I was young, learning. That's kind of got me going on what I liked and didn't like. So yeah, I was so lucky. I learned a lot of stuff, and I was very involved in the process of what I was riding. So when I got to the end of my career and kind of was in a crossroads on where I was going, my next step, I sort of took a back step from competing and started riding a bunch of different boards and really broadening my quiver, I guess, because I wasn't so focused on those high performance boards. And I spent a lot of time with Bob Cooper. At that time, he was living in Pridgeon, and I was just a little lost in life because I lost all my sponsors pretty much within a year, which was how I made my living and supported myself and family. So I just spent a lot of time with Bob Cooper, and we were chatting and hanging. And at the time, he was making me boards, and he just said, "Get in the bay and do it yourself." It was that sort of start point that got focused on that, and I made a few boards for myself. And then I thought, you know what, I've built so many brands and been involved in designing ranges for so many years over my sort of 20-year surfing career that I'm going to myself create a job that I don't have to go somewhere 9 to 5, because I'd never done that before and wouldn't be able to handle it. And so I just started building boards for how I wanted to surf and the waves that I surf, which is Noosa, and wanted to focus on sort of that traditional aspect, which has been getting really popular. And so that progression, and it's been a great move, and it's pretty rewarding, riding boards yourself, seeing other people ride them, and their surfing level improves. So it's been a really nice journey so far.
Absolutely. I think that's
Can you
really
walk us through a little bit about, obviously, when you competed on the WSL World Tour last year and that, what goes through your head in like a quiver for where you're going, and how many boards do you travel with?
Yeah, I'm a shocker. I always travel way too many boards. Not that I've used on what to board I want and want to surf for it, but it's been it's such a transition for the WSL. I went back 3 years ago to Taiwan, and it was still very focused on high performance boards, and yet they wanted you to nose ride. So it was a really weird mix. It didn't go very well, but obviously having Devon involved the last 2 years, he's really set a not a criteria, but a direction what he wants to see and where they want to go with it. And I really like that.
Kid can surf himself as well, hasn't he? Those couple of videos Devon's dropped lately, he's got some skills.
He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. When I was on tour and I was young, I think he's about 7 or 8 years older than me, but he was doing phenomenal surfing back then. It just was too traditional or too slow and not aggressive in performance enough, but style has been phenomenal and beautiful flow. But I guess that's the surfing that he's doing is what he wants to see everyone do, and I think it's a great way to see the sport progress. Obviously, we've had 20 years of high performance surfing, and it's sort of the last 10 years it's been very lackluster, and the sport hasn't really progressed and grown. So hopefully this new direction is going to change. But yeah, it's been fun building boards for this criteria and trying to fit the waves, and it's quite enjoyable to compete on your own boards and try and win.
So I had a question from a WSL judge, so therefore shall remain nameless. But the question was along the lines of, obviously people like yourself and Phil Harshman have had to adapt and reinvent yourselves. But forgetting criterias and interpretations of criterias, what style of longboarding is your favourite to watch as a longboarder, as a surfer? And so who would embody what you consider to be your personal favourite?
Yeah, look, I don't really have a favourite. The surfing that Taylor Jensen's doing a couple of years ago was phenomenal, and still to this day, beautiful high performance, and surfing is phenomenal to watch. Bad high performance surfing is horrible to watch. Beautiful traditional surfing like a Devon or a Joel is outstanding and amazing to watch. And terrible logging is disgusting too. So good surfing is good surfing, and doesn't matter what board you're riding or how you're doing it, as long as you're doing it right, I think is great. So
Mate, I don't know.
I know I didn't answer your question.
No,
I was
about to say your surfing career may be over, but your career in politics is.
But yeah, good surfing's good surfing, but don't get me wrong, I definitely love this new direction they're going, and I feel the next generation coming through, and then the generation below, like my kids, if they chose that path, I feel like there's going to be more opportunities with the surfing world to get behind longboard surfing with the direction it's going.
Couldn't agree more. And people like yourself, of course, a great ambassador for the sport, and a reason why parents should send their kids along, because we're all happy, healthy people with brains that work and things, which is great. Most of us, hey, Nathan. But I won't go on about the comments about Nathan's hair, because there's a bit of interest on that on our viewers. But certainly there's a few people popping up here, JC, who are obviously
big Twizzers in the house.
But yeah, I want to welcome to the show, dragging himself away from his incredible business, Jack Entwistle. How are you, big fella?
Good, mate. The big one's joined us. Good to see you, mate.
You too, bud.
What's going on? Have you guys been having some good waves?
We've had a couple of waves. It's that time of year, isn't it, where it's those northerlies start to kick in, and the swells are definitely weaker and softer. But
Yeah.
still try and get in the water as much as possible. But it's been pretty hard, and definitely my golf game's pretty sharp at the moment from the amount of golf that I've been playing the last couple of weeks.
Oh, here he is. All right, we'll have to have a game then.
Someone's commenting on your hair as well, Jack.
I just got a haircut, mate. Straight from the barber.
Looking good, mate.
A bunch of people, JC, are saying g'day. Michael Cotty is reminding us there's a 10-foot sup event at Agnes. One of my Samoan buddies who doesn't even surf watching. G'day, TC. But Kyle Benefeld, of course, about the hair. But what's this one about? What's the Go Sunny Coast Storm Boys? That's from Brendan Dowd. Hey, Poppy Borland, you Tang. Hey, Josh, Go Sunny Coast Storm Boys. That's got to mean something, right?
It does. Well, obviously, we're Queenslanders, so we love our NRL, and it's grand final week. Nathan's down there with his AF beanie on, or scarf on, I should say. But yeah, it's so obviously I follow the Brisbane Broncos. We've had a terrible season. We got the wooden spoon, but we quickly dumped the Broncos and got on the Melbourne Storm, have relocated to the Sunshine Coast. And so we've jumped on the Sunny Coast Storm, got on the bandwagon, and it's grand final week this week, and Melbourne Storm have made the final. So that's what we're getting on. And Brendan's from down there in Victoria, so he's a Melbourne Storm supporter.
Did you guys see many of the St Kilda AFL players? Because they were based in Noosa as well.
Mate, Queenslander don't really
Don't know what
follow
they
the
look like.
gay AFL.
Yes, they were here.
I mean, it's all right, but I was thinking that, but yeah, I wasn't sure. I knew they were based in Noosa.
Like,
Yeah, I think there has been a
I'm
lot of
pretty
them
sure
around.
they secretly trained on the NRL field because
I think that's
they
like
thought
that.
they'd be on the AFL field.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're hiding.
Cheeky bugger.
I actually look. I don't really follow it, so I don't really know. But I know there was a lot of them. I seen them out at the golf course. They've been playing at Noosa Springs. I don't even know if they were playing football. It seemed like they were out there every day playing golf and working on their golf. But yeah, I've seen a lot of them out there, and they've had a good time. I don't think they want to go back to Melbourne. They might relocate up here full time.
I reckon. They're pretty lucky to be up there. Pretty lucky.
Now, Josh, earlier on we were talking about how your kids are into longboarding, and I know there's a lot of young fellas up there and girls at Noosa that are absolutely setting longboarding on fire at the moment. I believe you've got a very big hand in helping develop most of these kids. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that and how come so many good kids are coming out of Noosa?
Yeah, well, I guess, Sean, it's a lot to do with our weather. It's warm all year, as it is on the Gold Coast. It's very accessible for the kids to get into surfing all year round. So they're in the water all the time. So they improve out of sight. But definitely, I feel like this traditional longboard approach is it's capturing a lot more people. It's a lot more exciting. There's hype on it, and the kids that are coming through the system up here is phenomenal. It's kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. Like I said, all the Wilsons and GT and Whitey, the list goes on. It almost has that feeling at the moment. There's a really healthy group of both boys and girls that are surfing amazing from 10 years old through to that sort of 16, 17 age bracket. And yeah, it's phenomenal. We've got just that next step up in age is Kira and the Lethbridge girls. There's some really hot surfing going on. Obviously, Harrison Roach, Kira, Sierra Flurback is here. You know, it's great. But yeah, this young generation, Landon Smales is a standout. I know him and Caden have been on the show earlier on in the year. Their surfing is phenomenal. Landon's he's a little freak. He's good at everything. And this afternoon at the skate park, he was at the skate park lighting it up too. So and then we've got little Lennox Curry, who's surfing phenomenal. He's 11. Mia, she's ripping. Lucy Bowen, we just spoke about Brad Bowen, his daughter. So we've got this amazing group of kids that are all best friends. They're all coming through the Noosa Malibu Club. They're all surfing together. They're all riding shortboards, longboards, and pushing each other and pushing each other in a really healthy way, like we did when I was a kid. So longboarding's looking really promising. And I think for them this year, it's such a bonus having the Noosa Festival of Surfing in our backyard. For me, I got to watch all these amazing guys, Joel Tudor, Bonga Perkins, Jeff Moyser, all these amazing surfers from all over the world come. And they inspired us to get better and want to do it. And I guess that young group of Hawaiians that came over this year, they set the festival on fire, both in the men and the females. That our young kids got to see that, and they're aspiring to be like that Waikiki connection you commentated, Weeksy, through that event, and the surfing that they were doing was phenomenal.
Yeah, look, I think it's pretty easy to look at that young crop of up-and-coming grommets you guys have got in the sunny coast. Throw in your Agnes import as well now as well.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to see that there's going to be a world champ or two, and certainly a couple of Aussie titles coming out of that region in coming years. And now it's up to the other states to try to lift their game, because seriously, the depth of talent there right now is just ridiculous. Aidan Feely down on the Sunshine Coast kind of had it to himself a couple of years ago, and now
we had a big drop off, I guess, from my generation. We had a long gap. Harrison Roach had a little spurt in there early, but he kind of walked away and went a different direction. And since then, we haven't had much representation from the Noosa area over the years. Sort of like a Clinton Guest, but he sort of was in that sort of closer to our age bracket. So we haven't had a really much depth there until now, but this group is really good and it's exciting. And obviously Kira's running sessions with them all as well, and I'm down there with the whole group, and it's great. It's really, really good.
So look, speaking of people you compete against, I'm getting the impression that Glenn Gower's beaten you in a heat or something, because he says, ask Josh. By the way, Glenn Gower, congratulations. Today he's reached the epic milestone of his surfing career. Sean, you know what's going on there, but Glenn was actually accepted into the Head Dip Appreciation Society today, because he finally got some photographic evidence. But Glenn says, ask Josh if he's chasing one more title this year that has eluded him since he started with Noosa Malibu Club. Wink emoji, that's pretty technological for Glenn Gower. So what's he talking about?
What's he doing? It's past his bedtime.
His nurse must have left him up tonight.
Classic. So Glenn always joke around because I haven't had a Noosa Malibu Club title. Obviously, I've travelled extensively over the years and haven't been able to put a full season together. But because of COVID, there's no travelling this year. So that's a chance at winning a club title. I'm going to kick your butt all year, and I've paddled around him and over the top of him in heats, and it's been bloody enjoyable. And I just keep reminding him every Monday after we have a club round that I kicked his butt, but his comeback is that he's 58, and I should do that anyway. So
you want to see him, mate. Agnes Water, the highlight of the whole event for me was the 9 or 10 minutes where he was in a heat with his daughter and she was winning. And
nice.
Please hang on. You know, that would have just made my year, but unfortunately, Glenn came through at the end. And
he did. Yeah, he would have.
Who knows what could happen this year, though?
Yeah, he would have made sure he had the right judges in at doing that. Judging tent with his friends.
I saw a few brown paper bags changing hands before and after the heat. But Dean Challen said g'day earlier on, so he's inspired me to become a car detailer, by the way. So Dean,
he does a bloody great job looking after our car.
And even Branchy's watching. Jeff Branch is on board now as well. So a lot of love there for the JC. How much changed, mate? Look, I went from being a TV show host one day, so for 4.5 years, I hosted a TV show here in Perth. And every time that there was a new movie, the circus was in town, the mayor's having a dinner, there was fireworks, I'd get an invite. And then the day I stopped doing the TV show, no more invites. So was there a similar experience with you as a sponsored world champ and, the world's your oyster? Did you find that there was a bit of a flick of the switch there when you lost relevance, or have you sort of stayed in the spotlight? Obviously, you're back squarely in the spotlight now.
Yeah, no, I guess that's our community is so good. Like I've always had great support, and obviously when I was on the high there, everyone was behind me. But yeah, look, people come and go in your life, but I've definitely had the Noosa Malibu club's been a big part of my life, and great supporters, and been very generous to me over the years, and the whole Noosa community has been, and they've always got behind us, and so no, it's been great, and I guess I'm just blessed to have grown up here and surf the waves that I get to surf, and the community and they still do to this day, and the Malibu clubs all helped us over the last couple of years get to events and fun, so they've been, and just looking forward to the next 20 years, I guess.
That kind of leads me on to what I was going to ask. Where do you see surfing sort of going in the next even 5 to 10 years? Do you still want to stay competing? And
yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't go downhill. I'm the big 4-0 this year, so hopefully I can keep going. It's it's been, look, I was super excited. I got the bug back to compete and loved the direction, and was really looking forward to this year. I felt like I find consistency in my competing, getting that confidence back again, and started off last year with a great result with a 5th here at Noosa, and average result in New York, but and then went to Taiwan and put a couple of really good heats together, and ended up losing to Justin Quintal in a heat, but felt like I was pushing him for the first half of the heat anyway, and was exciting to surf against him and compete at that level. And I felt like I was just getting momentum, so I was quite excited for this year. And unfortunately, this has all happened, but we're all safe and healthy still, and so no complaints from that. And we'll see what happens next year. Hopefully we can pick back up where we sort of left off, and there was talk and hype that we're going to get some events in some great waves, Malibu, maybe Trestles, which you would see a really high display of longboarding and good surfing. So hopefully that happens. But for the time being, I'm just, staying healthy and surfing, and just always work on fitness and different boards, and just, I guess it's a waiting game.
Now, Twiz, since we've got you on board as our token pro, now obviously everyone loves the way you surf. What's your memories of Josh as a competitor, and is it exciting for you to see the world champ come back on tour so he can kick his butt, or is it a fear because he's evolving and is a threat again?
That's a good one. It's definitely good. I actually never got to compete against Josh when he was on tour. I was still doing the open AMs, and it was good to see Josh come back. Obviously, it was interesting for him for us to see him have that flame burning again, and also another good Aussie representative to come and surf on the world tour. And I think it was cool just to have someone that had already won a world title, and he's a pretty funny guy when he wants to be, and someone that's fun to travel with. So it's good to see that level of surfing, and be learning bits and pieces from Josh's surfing for sure.
He's another one of those undercover party animals, isn't he? Because I always thought that Josh was Mr. Sensible and serious from a couple of the whale bones. And then I went back to Dunny's apartment one night while Josh was over here. And I think we'll just leave it at that. I can see Josh's face turning red. He remembers, but vaguely. But here I was thinking, is this sensible, corporate professional? I thought the same thing about Justin Redmond until I saw him out on the Terps as well. So I'm obviously not a very good judge of character when people are sober. But Josh, what's your best as a world surfing traveller? What's your best memory of a comp, whether it's in the water? Obviously, the 10 at Victoria would stand out strongly, but let's talk about outside with the jersey taken off. What's your most memorable experience as far as a competitor, but not actually in a heat?
Yeah, look, early on, I guess when it was actually a world tour. We had events. We'd spend sort of 6 weeks in Europe. So those years were super fun and enjoyable. And I guess funny one was Aaron Nichols from the Goldie. He was one of my best mates and a great surfer and a guy that we traveled together a lot. But we jumped off the plane in Portugal after flying 48 hours to get there, and we jumped in the hire car and dropped our boards at the hotel, and we went for a burn down the beach to check the waves. And I talked him into driving down rather than walking down this sandy track, and we got bogged and buried the thing. And just what we wanted after flying 48 hours was to dig the car out. And I just know what you're in for when he ripped his shirt off and just jumped in there and was digging it out. And I knew he was always going to be good to travel with, always had your back. And so that was funny. There's so many stories like that. One time it was actually driving down this one way in France, and this family was walking in front, dawdling down the street. And so we were just sitting behind, rolling very slowly. They got off the footpath got off the road to walk on the footpath. The lady actually fell back on the road and put her leg out, and I actually ran over her leg in the car. So that was super heavy. And I just remember this like this thud, and then I was like, oh shit, what happened? I actually put in reversed and reversed back over it a second time. So that was heavy, and the boys are just like, drive, get out of here, let's go. But just kicked in and I couldn't drive away. So I pulled over, and cop came, and we got taken, all 4 of us, down to the cop shop, and had to get someone to come and speak English and bail us out. And then we had surf heats the next morning. So just funny stories like that, traveling as a group in countries where you can't speak their language, and but you're all having a great time. And there's so many silly ones like that for sure.
Classic. And obviously with a few of the kids that you train, their parents and so forth watching, I guess we can't get into all of them. But it looks like Glenn Gower's got a message from someone saying we were talking about him because he's back on watching again. We'll bagging you out, Glenn, so you can watch it back on the replay. Riley Dean's asked a really good question. Do you know Riley, or is he?
Riley, he made of mine.
Okay, so Riley Dean's asked, what's your favourite board to shape for someone else? We've spoken about what you like to ride, but what's your favourite board to shape for someone?
Yeah, obviously, I guess it's just listening to the customer, where they surf, what sort of surfing they want to do. But I've got a few popular models. The Jive is a popular. The Barber, which is what I rode a lot on the WSL this year. I enjoy shaping those boards for people, knowing that the boards work so well, and as long as I fit the board up to their surf and the conditions that they ride, riding. And more so than shaping the board or building the board, it's more getting that person on the board and seeing their level improve. That's a real buzz.
And I can confirm that we are being watched this evening, because the first person to jump on and say hello was your best mate in Israel. So Dr. Jessica Rose, she's a world famous PhD immunologist, microbiologist. She has a degree in epidemiology as well. She's got more degrees and PhDs and stuff than most people have had breakfast. She loves her Creative Army longboard. There's photos every day of her riding that thing in.
Yeah, she's my number one team rider, that's for sure. Yeah, she's a hoot. And I was fortunate enough to get to meet her a couple of years ago when she was cruising here in Noosa, and hopefully she'll be back soon and surfing and hanging out over here. And yeah, she's just she's a frother, that's for sure.
Another frother, Marlon Gio's tuned in watching as well. I think he's probably wanting to know what everyone wants to know. Are we going to see you back in that contest jersey, giving it a Aussie titles nudge, or are you world focused, title focused, or where's
No, I'm excited. Obviously, this year they've moved the Aussies. It looks like next year we're back at Port Macquarie.
Oh, I can go do nationals again.
I think, but I enjoy Port Macquarie. The waves are unreal, and so I think I'll have a crack in the opens, and then have a crack in the over 40s too, which is exciting. I won it.
No,
I turned 35
no.
and turned 35. Had a crack at that, and now I might have a go at the over 40s.
No, stay away from the over 40s. Thank you. We don't need you. Oh God, okay. I'm going to be 50 next year anyway. It's going to be fine. Paul Fleming wants to know, what's your fave surf spot? Secret spot or local?
Look, I can't go past First Point. It's got to hold a special place in my heart. I won my first major professional event there, which was the Noosa Festival when it was a ASP pro event. That was my first major win. Anna and I got married on the beach to surf there. Anna and I have taught the kids to learn to surf there. So, First Point is a special place, probably one of the best longboard waves in the world, and it's here in our backyard and it's home. So for me, can't go past that.
So not that breakdown near Maroochydore that's named after the street where it is that you told me about one time. I'm never allowed to tell anyone.
No, we got those ways. There's plenty of those ways. But
I think I've already said too much. Now, Twiz, we haven't seen you for a few weeks, mate. So please get some airtime with that new hairstyle. You got any more questions for JC before we finish up the show?
No, I was just gonna. He kind of just what I was on answered all my questions, but I was going to talk about next year's tour, but I guess it's kind of unknown at the moment, not knowing what the restrictions are going to do and if we're even going to be allowed to travel overseas. By the sounds of things, it's not looking too good at the moment. And it's exciting to see what happens next year, to be good, because it's obviously got a little bit of momentum from the start of the year and everyone's kind of frothing and excited. And I think everyone's just hanging out to see what unfolds and where it goes from here.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird time for sure, isn't it? Because surfing's more popular than ever. I've had the busiest 6 months in with Creative Army. I've done the most boards that I've ever done and had a bumper 6 months. So people are frothing on surfing and longboarding's so popular at the moment. But it's going to be interesting to see how the WSL run with that, and if we can travel and open up. But in the way of longboard surfing and surfing as a whole, it's on the up and people are loving it, and we can't complain about that.
Yeah, I reckon that if there is not much traveling going on next year, I think it'll be good for everyone in Australia to compete against each other, and there might be some more local contests and more opportunities for contests inside Australia, like what they did with the Tweed Coast Pro. And that'd be cool. I reckon that'd be rad. Yeah,
well, off air, I was saying to Sean, it would have been cool if we could have got a little men and women's longboard sort of couple of slots surfing in that Cabarita event, and then Stratty, and it'd be pretty cool to surf a longboard event over in the West again and tag into that event, if they take the contest to, I don't know, North Point or something like that, it'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Talking about Sean, when we had the Suzuki event, and in between the first event and the second event, we went and hung out. Remember, we were down in Margie's, and I remember Harley and I and Michael Bellamy, there was a couple of us, we went and surfed North Point. And it was the first time I'd surfed it, and we paddled out. It was only like 4 to 6 feet. It was pretty small. It was almost breaking where it was doing its thing, but not really. But man, that wave is so heavy. I remember the first wave I didn't come out of. My board just got blown into smithereens. It was in pieces, and it's a super heavy wave. But it was pretty enjoyable and fun to surf.
Yeah, quick another viewer question, because it's from a man that I love to death. Actually, he's one of my favourite humans, Dougie Carruthers. Remember Doug? He's won titles in just about every age group on the planet. But is Josh shaping logs with edges on the tail or more soft edges? For Dougie.
Yeah, I'm doing everything. Obviously, a log is, I guess, considered to be soft edge the whole way through, but I'm doing boards with both. Look, I say to a lot of people, if you're never going to compete in a logging event, you might as well have edge in your board, because it performs a lot better in a more variety of waves. If the waves are a bit bumpy or trying conditions, put a little bit of edge in your board and it'll perform so much better for you. But yeah, it's just, honestly, it depends on the individual and where they surf. If you're only going to surf Noosa or the pass at Byron or something like that, you can get away with a soft rail longboard and kind of have a lot of fun in almost every surf you go out in.
What I'm finding really cool today, Josh, is watching the names of the people as they come on to check it out, because it always indicates the guest will determine the audience kind of thing. And just watching, Ben Proudfoot's just popped up. Haven't seen him for a couple of weeks. Darko's one of Del Boy's mates, but a couple of people running late. Kate Moran's just joined us as well. But we better wrap it up. I mean, we've been going for an hour. It doesn't seem like it. And certainly I reckon we could get another couple of hours out of you easily. And maybe we should at some other point. But Kira, Nath, Sean, any final questions or points to note?
No, all good. Just, want to thank Josh for coming on. Epic to chat to you. And,
thanks, mate. Yeah, it was awesome. Look forward to sharing some waves with you down there sometime soon.
Well, as a former
maybe Nath can hook up the wave pool for us and we could all go down and surf it and we could do the podcast from there. And
as a former world champ, Josh, I think that entitles you to an invite to the very first Tullamarine Longboard Classic.
Sounds good.
So, Shawnee McEwen, who's our special guest next week, mate?
Mate, someone from down in Victoria. We're going to have Bob Smith, the historian. Okay, he's going to tell us a little bit about, all the titles he's won and, what he's done looking after the Surf Museum and the Rip Curl collection and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be another great little show. And
we get all the best guests, don't we? And we can maybe talk to him about Josh's real favourite surf spot, Brian Thompson's WN, mate. He says, "Come on, what about the Gunnery down in Vic?"
It was fun. Also, when I was with those guys, they took us out to Corsair. That was that was a bit of an eye opener. I didn't know much about it, and everyone was calling me onto the boat, like, "Come on, paddle back in. We've got to go." And I kept thinking, I'm not getting out. This is pumping. And then all of a sudden, I was getting sucked out to sea, and I realised why they were trying to get me out of the water.
Tides are mental there. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I didn't realise, but that wave was a lot of fun. With Steve Friedman organised that trip and took us out there. Great shaper from that coastline, and great surfer. But it was pretty cool.
Sounds like you've got a trail of friends and stories to tell all around the countryside, Josh. And regardless of how humble you want to be about it, the reason why you're so revered in Noosa is because you've been around being a good guy for a long time. You can surf, but there's a lot of good surfers out there who don't get the respect and the love. The fact that you do is indicative of your character and the way you've carried yourself.
Thanks, Wixie.
I've enjoyed having you as a friend when you don't pretend not to know me as you walk off down the street. Oh, actually, one thing I really do need to bring up was 10-pin bowling at Noosa.
What happened there?
I
remember that.
I've still got the video.
You're cutting in and out there.
Yeah. I remember my post. I think it was still when it was.
No, it wasn't in Noosa. It was at Port Macquarie.
Port Macquarie, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was too. And Pioli, and so that's my time. I remember putting up a post on. I think it was still MySpace back in those days. I beat Josh Constable at Port Macquarie Nationals. Everyone's like, "What? You beat Josh?" Yeah, at 10-pin bowling.
Yeah.
But,
we're competitors in everything, aren't we? And it wasn't good losing that battle.
It's the only thing I'm going to beat you at. But look, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you, mate. Hopefully our viewers get a bit of a sense for how good of a man you are and how much you've done for and around and within the sport for yourself and for others around you. And big pats on the back for what you're doing for the future of the sport. If you do need any more personal training, I know someone who's got some mad skills who is really nearby you. And on my screen, you're side by side. But good luck for your ventures, mate. We'd like to see more of you in the Rashi. I'm just going to pop us back out to gallery view, like for real this time, so we can see everybody. Nath, do you want to throw one more Go Tigers in there, mate, for since we're a bit outnumbered on the AFL numbers this week, mate?
Go Tigers.
Go Dusty.
Got to beat the Cats. Big game. They're going for three flags in 4 years, the Tigers. So
Get up.
And look, I can tell you that everyone who was at the Bunnies match here in WA last weekend, because my Samoan mates have made me a Rabbitohs supporter, were all saying they hope Canberra wins this week because no one wants Storm to win. So hope one of your teams gets up, mate. Hopefully you guys get a surf. Looks like I might even get a paddle in this week. It's been a great opportunity, chance to get inside the head of a former world champion and also a great surfboard shaper in his own right. Get yourself one of those Creative Army surfboards. You'll be as happy as Dr. Jessica Rose in Haifa in Israel. But thanks, Jack Entwistle, for making an appearance, buddy. We've been missing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the
Bit of a late one, but great to be here. Thank you.
And look, I'm a bit disappointed. In fact, Sean and I don't think we're ever going to get any comments about our nice hair. But next week, mate, maybe Nath, when you weren't here last week, I shaved my beard, mate, out of. So I'm only going to grow my beard when you're on each week. All right.
all right.
So I want to see the bigger beard. Nate's got to hang around. I'm going to stop talking crap. It's time to wrap it up. Don't forget next week, of course, Boardroom. Bob, well done. Sean McEwen for organising a fantastic guest. Almost as well, equally as good as this week's guest for episode 23. That was Josh Constable. I'm Weeksy, and on behalf of the panel, thanks for joining us. We'll see you same bat channel, same bat time next Thursday night here on Oz Longboarding.
Hey, thanks, crew. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
I never talk